Forever, we've thought about work in terms of jobs, right? Careers. But what if that whole idea is being taken apart piece by piece right in front of us? This concept is called the unbundling of work. And believe me, it is changing everything. Just for a second, think about your own job. Are you really just a project manager or a graphic designer? Or are you actually juggling dozens of different little tasks? Crunching some numbers, shooting off emails, managing people, building presentations? Your job title is kind of like the label on the box, but what's actually inside? In this visual here, it just nails the core idea. Over on the left, you've got that traditional solid job, one single thing. But on the right, that's what's really happening now. That solid block is being shattered into all its basic parts, tasks, components, and modules that can be pulled apart and put back together in totally new ways. So let's officially put a name to this huge shift. What we're talking about is job unbundling. And it's not just some buzzword or a passing trend. It's a complete rethinking of how we get work done. Now, what I find really interesting about this definition is the language. Strategic decomposition. That tells you this isn't happening by accident. It's a deliberate choice. Companies are actively breaking jobs down into these discrete value-producing units so that each little piece can be handed off to a robot, a specialist, or a freelancer somewhere else in the world. And this creates this real tug of war. See, bundling tasks into a job has always been about protection. It protects your identity, it gives you stability, and it keeps valuable knowledge inside a company. But unbundling, that's all about substitution. It lets a company find the absolute cheapest, fastest, or most skilled person or, an algorithm for every single little task. Okay, so how does this actually go down? It's not magic. It's a very methodical process. Let's get into the toolkit and see exactly how a job is taken apart step by step. So the whole thing unfolds in 4 key stages. First up is identification. Basically, you make a list of all the hidden, invisible tasks someone does all day. Then comes deconstruction, where you start asking the tough questions, like, wait, why are these things even done by the same person? After that, it gets really granular with atomization, breaking the work into the tiniest possible pieces. And finally, you have modularization, where you group those tiny atoms into smart, reusable clusters, kind of like Lego blocks for a whole new way of working. Let's just pause on atomization for a second, because this is where the economic logic gets really ruthless. When you break a job down to its atoms, you can suddenly see exactly what every tiny action costs versus the value it actually produces. And that's how a company decides what's truly essential and what can be done way cheaper or faster by someone or something else. And after you've atomized everything, you get modularization. I gotta say, I love this analogy from the source material. It calls it industrial design for human work. You're literally creating these building blocks of tasks that can be snapped together in new combinations, assigned to totally different people, and scaled up or down in an instant. It is the ultimate in flexibility. Now, I know this might all sound a bit theoretical, but I promise you, you have already seen this in action. Unbundling isn't some sci-fi future concept. It's already a massive force in our economy. And the biggest, most obvious example of this is a term we all know and hear constantly: the gig economy. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's basically a giant marketplace for unbundled skills. When you hire someone on a platform like Upwork or Fiverr, you're not hiring a person for a career. You're buying one specific unbundled skill, like logo design or proofreading, as a single, clean transaction. But it's so much bigger than just the gig economy. I mean, think about outsourcing. That is classic unbundling, taking a whole module of work, like customer service, and just sending it to an external team. And then there's this cool idea of job hacking, where a smart employee, or even their boss, re-engineers a role to ditch the boring stuff and focus only on the tasks that create the most value. Okay, so we've got the what and the how of unbundling. But really, the biggest question is, so what? What does all this mean for us, for real people? What's the human impact of this completely new world of work? This chart lays out the trade-off perfectly. On the one hand, unbundling gives you incredible flexibility and the chance to become a real expert in one specific thing. But on the other hand, as you can see, those old-school ideas of job stability and company loyalty, they take a huge hit. We're trading security for freedom. And this leads to a pretty deep psychological shift. Your identity at work is no longer about who you are. I'm a manager at Acme Corp. Instead, it becomes about what you do temporarily. Right now, I'm doing these tasks for this project. It's a massive change in how we think about ourselves and our value. So, the new model for a worker isn't a resume with a neat list of past jobs. It's more like an adaptive portfolio of micro skills. You're in this state of constant learning, always adding new skills to your toolkit and then deploying them across this fluid network of different projects and clients. Your real value is in your portfolio, not your position. So it all really boils down to this one crucial question we all have to ask ourselves. In this new world of work, is your value defined by your job title, a fixed, bundled identity, or is it defined by your portfolio of skills, something that's dynamic, flexible, and always ready for whatever comes next? How you answer that might just define the entire future of your career.